What up, guys? So it's been a couple weeks since I posted things up. We've been taking care of yard stuff. Like we had a 20-yard dumpster in here, and we just cleaned a lot of stuff in the back that we had, and we've been wanting to do that for over a year. So anyway, so we're back onto the bus. I did clean up a little in here. So, oh, by the way, that's the fridge that decided to blow out, so that was another thing that we were working on. And I do have the Ford over on the lift. I still have to get the frame from out back, bring it in here. I got to get some tires for it, or some rollers, so I could bring that in. But anyway, so we're back on the bus. I did have a little bit of a start issue, an electrical gremlin, if you will. And come to find out, it was the ground strap off the battery to the body of the van. So as I'm replacing the ground strap, hold on a second. So here's the ground strap that was on the back of the bus. I probably should have checked this first instead of not tearing, but taking apart the ignition switch and the light switch, because the symptom is I turn the key to the on position and no power to anything. I turn the key to the off position and I have power all up in the fuses, or the main fuse that comes from the battery. So I never thought about checking this, to be honest with you, because I had power up there. When I turn the ignition to the on position, the power would then shut off on the main fuse and I would have no power anywhere. So after taking all that apart and looking at it, I figured our process of elimination was that the ignition switch was good, the light switch was good, because how it works is the main fuse comes up, or the power from the battery goes up to the fuse, goes over to the light switch, and then the light switch to the ignition, and then to the ignition out to everything else. And that's how it works. So I had my son get in the bus, and he sat in there while I was back here testing. And when I tested the battery, the positive post to the ground side of the bus, there was nothing. So I took power, post to post, and I had 12.8 volts. And then I made a ground out of jumper wire or jumper cables, just to see if that if this was the problem, and bus fired right up, no problem. So I got the new cable in right there. And the other thing is that when I went to put the nut or the bolt back into the ground section of the bus, because it's a cage nut, the cage nut is no longer caging the nut, so I have to drill that out. I'm gonna set a nut in there, and then I'm gonna weld that nut in, and then I'll have a new ground strap and a new attachment point for the ground strap. I will eventually be getting a new battery, because this battery is really old and it's a blemish or refurbished battery from the get-go, and it came with the bus. But I figured out what the electrical gremlin was, so now we will be over here. So I'm from a water-cooled aspect of things, and I really don't like not knowing what temperature I got going on down here. I don't like that I don't have oil pressure. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, I got the idiot light in the dash that I hooked up, but everything else, I'm not liking that. I don't know what the normal operating temperatures are of these buses or of the air-cooled motors, but I will know now. So there's the oil gauge, the oil gauge here that I'm putting in, and then I'm also putting in an oil temperature gauge right there. So I did go to Fisher Buggy this morning, which is down in Tampa, which is probably about a 30-minute ride from me, and they gave me, now this is for the oil temperature stuff. So they gave me this. So there's the part number. And then this is the VDO temp sensor, and that right there is the part number of this. You can find this on Amazon, I found out. And honestly, this right here is just a 1/8 inch MPT, 1/8 inch MPT, 1/8 inch MPT fitting. So you could probably get this relatively inexpensive. You don't have to go with this brand or that cost. And then the temperature gauge is VDO 310106B, and that's how much they sell it for. Amazon, they're a little more expensive, so that was cheaper through them. This is the VDO oil pressure switch, and it has 2 posts. So I will be leaving the idiot light in the dash, and then one of these will run to the idiot light, one of these will run to the temperature or the pressure gauge up that's going to be up in the dash. And this I got off Amazon, and this is an 1/8 inch MPT on this side. So when I was looking to do this online, no one really says, oh, you know, it's this or it's this. The case, from what one person said, was an M10x1. But if you do the M10x1 fitting that goes in there, that goes to 1/8 inch, you need a washer, and you have a tendency of possibly cracking the block. I guess that's, or the case. That's a big issue. So I got this off Amazon too. And what I'll do is I'll put in pictures of what I got off Amazon so people can see what it is to take and do this, right? And the black oil pressure gauge from VDO, it's that part number, and this I also got off from Amazon. So what we'll do is, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill out that cage nut and then weld in a regular nut. Strap the cable back down so I now have power to everything. I'm going to button up the interior ignition switch and the light switch, put that all back in its place. And then what I'll do is I'll start taking out the factory oil pressure switch, and take that out, put this stuff in, and then make all the connections. And I have to run wire, which is 16 gauge wire, from the back of the bus all the way up to the front, where I'm going to be putting these gauges, which I still haven't figured out where I'm going to put the gauges. So this is going to be a fun one. So it's kind of electrical, but not really. So this is the oil pressure and oil temp gauge install video. And that's what I mean by I had it all apart. So yeah, so let me show you this over here. So I welded in a new nut in here after drilling it all out, and now we're back grounded. Okay, I'm gonna fire this up and see if this leaks. That leaks. Alright guys, so we got the sending unit put in, the adapter and the temp gauge sending unit. The temp gauge sending unit was leaking, just a little drip of oil. So what I ended up doing was, it shouldn't be leaking because it's an 1/8 inch MPT, but it is leaking, or it was leaking a little. So I put a little bit of sealant around threads, put that in. That was yesterday. That's where we ended yesterday. So today we're making a wiring harness from that's going from the front, back of the bus to the front where the gauges are going. So what I did was I just took 16 gauge. So I took it, I put it in my drill, I spun it, and it's all, as you can see, it's all wrapped together. So what I am doing now is I'm actually taping it up right there with cloth tape, and I'm gonna do it, obviously this is a lot longer than I need, but it'll ensure that it'll be long enough for what I need. So I'm just gonna wrap this up real quick and then probably climb underneath the bus, route the wiring. I've got to get up underneath there and see where the wiring routes from now, and then yeah, that's what we're gonna do. Kind of a low-key chill because it's 46 degrees I think this morning here in Florida. It does get cold obviously, so I'm gonna keep wrapping this up until I get to the end on that side, and then we'll be back. So I did end up putting the wire loom over it as well. This is the kind that actually like folds on itself a couple times, so it's pretty good. And then what I did was I heat shrinked it down so it would stay stable. So I have my two colors here. So blue, I'm sticking with the blue theme on anything like oil pressure wise. So oil pressure gauge is blue, solid blue, and then the oil pressure light is like blue with like a black dots or something, but it's blue. And then this one's going to be temp, so we have that all made up. I was looking underneath there and how they have the wiring routed, and it may be stock, like I don't know, but it runs behind the behind this distributor, up over, rides along one of the spark plugs wires, actually number 1, and then it shoots back between the fan shroud and the shroud for the head, and then it goes back into the firewall of the bus. So I don't know, I'm thinking that I don't want it to melt, right? I'm not sure, the temperatures, it's all kind of new to me, air-cooled stuff. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna run it off the other side. So once we get down there, I'll show you but basically it's coming off the driver's side. Will go up. It'll go up in the back near the gas tank, then over the gas tank, and then it'll follow the wiring from there down and then up underneath. My flashlight died, so I'm just letting that charge up. So I'm going to use these guys, these little rubber mounts, to mount it along the side, on the other side, to keep it in place. So it's like that. So that's what I'm going to do here. So let's bring you down here, and we'll show you kind of how I'm going to route this. Alright guys, so we are down here. So I did put Teflon tape on the connections, the temp sensor. I put what is it? It's thread sealant. I've had good luck with this before, but a lot of people have been saying that, you know, you don't want to do that because you need it to ground to the block in order for these gauges to work, or sensors and all that. So what I'm going to do is I tested it all to make sure, but you just kind of run your meter on the continuity setting. So basically when you touch the wires, beep, they beep. And then what I do is I'll touch the sensor on that side, and then I'll touch the ground over here. So they're all getting grounded through. I mean, that's a way you can test it all. Okay. So we're kind of cramped up in here, obviously. I don't have it over on the lift. But anyway, so how they have it routed, I'll explain it better. It goes behind all this, comes up through that side, and then goes like right along the tins. And I know it gets warm. So what I want to do is I'm going to run it off that side. So I'm going to run it that way, and then I'm going to attach it to this little lip here. It's going to go up, down, across, and then down the original hole out to the front of the bus. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to get you up in here, but just know that that's how I'm going to route it, right? Okay, so we'll be back. Okay, so all the wiring actually runs through that frame rail all the way down. So I'm going to have to fish that wire through. So give me a minute while I try to figure out what I'm going to use to fish through it, because I don't have a wire fish. So yeah, we'll be right back after I figure this out. So here we are, fishing wires through the frame. It's hard for me to get, all this is kind of hard being up underneath here, but something like that. And then, so you kind of get the idea. So we're kind of fishing it all down through there. So we'll be back once I get it done. There we go. Comes out of the frame down down there, goes up, and then goes back into the frame there, and then goes all the way up to the front and up into the bus. So up there, I pulled the horn out because I don't really like it, and so I have to do the horn wires and stuff like that once I get the horn in, and then I'll finish wire looming all that up there. But for now, we can test the gauges and see if they work. And then inside the engine bay, so I have temp, pressure gauge, and then in the wire loom, then up, and then it goes in front of the gas tank, and then it comes down to the side and then out with everything else. All right, so I haven't fired this up yet since I redid that fitting right there with sealant stuff. So we are gonna see how it works. So I'm just gonna put the gauges in temporarily, so they're not actually gonna be mounted. They are just gonna be sitting right there, ground, power, and then the sensor wires, just to see how it goes. We'll be right back. All right, guys. So, like I said, they're just kind of temporarily set up here, meaning I've got power going to them, I got a ground, and then I have the two signal wires. So what I'll do is I'll hold it here. So let's see how these work, or if they do. So I got my oil light down there. Here we go. Take a minute for the temperature to get up there, but so we'll leave it here, and then we'll be right back once the temperature gauge starts going up. Yeah. Well, as it was idling for, I don't know, for about 5 minutes, I came back to check, and the temp sensor is still leaking. So I am not going to proceed with waiting for it to warm up. I got to fix this leak. I don't know why it's leaking. Honestly, I'm thinking that this temp sensor is too long. You know, I think it bottoms out before it tightens up, because as I tighten it up, it just kind of like stops. And I don't want to go any farther, meaning like the sensor goes pretty much the whole length of this. So I'm thinking I'll probably need another sensor that's a little shorter. The guy at Fisher Buggy did say that sometimes they have to clearance that T in order to accommodate the length of the sensor. So I'm going to call Tony up. I think it was Tony that I spoke to about that, and see what we can do about it. I told him, I said, hey, if this bottoms out, is there any way that we can work something out where I can get another one that doesn't bottom out? And he said yes. Okay, so I will kind of clean up a little bit, and then we'll talk about it. All right, guys, that's going to wrap up this weekend. There's a few things I still have to do yard work wise, but the gauges are in, so all the hard stuff is done, running all the wiring through the frame, connecting it all up. I will have to figure out that temp sensor because of the leak. I've tried it with Teflon tape and I tried it with sealant, and it's just, I think the sensor is just bottoming out. So I'll talk to Fisher Buggy about that tomorrow. Next video I'll let you know what happens, and then probably the gauges will be all buttoned up or whatever. I still have to figure out where I'm going to place them, stuff like that. So with the holidays coming up and stuff like that, we have a couple events here at our place. So I'm probably going to be like every other week putting out videos. I mean, I don't have a whole bunch of subscribers, but I still kind of like to put out videos and stuff like that, because maybe at one point somewhere down the line someone might need something that I'm doing, and hopefully I'm explaining it enough where they can reference it and come back and take a look at it. But anyway, so that's going to be it for this weekend, and hey, go and build something cool, and have a happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Bye.